Guys, the NFL is exactly 2 weeks away, at least for the Chicago Bears, less than 2 weeks away from that opener Thursday Night Football. And if you believe the Bears are making the playoffs, I want you to like this video. I believe, I need you guys to believe. Let's get at least 300 likes on today's show. Otherwise, I don't think you guys are believers in the Bears this year. So give us a thumbs up. With that being said, you guys submitted your questions. I give you my answers next on today's Bears Mailbag. Thanks to everybody using hashtag Bears. We'll start with Ron Kanakri here. I think the Bears should use both quarterbacks, go with each one's strengths, Trubisky and Foles, of course, whether it be a deep ball or red zone. Mix it up a bit. If one guy gets into a rut, swap them out to see if they can get something going. Just an idea, hashtag Bears. This sounds like a high school JV team, Ron, where you're like, these guys can't throw a spiral, so Tom, you can start. Dylan, you can come in if things don't work very well. This is the NFL, Ron. Like this is not what you do when you try to figure out who your quarterback is. I get it. It's not a clear-cut situation, right? Like Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Foles. These are not exactly franchise quarterbacks. Now, maybe Trubisky still grows and turns into something, but based on what we saw in 2019, not great. Based on what we've seen in Foles' entire career outside of a couple of playoff games, kind of a career backup. Now, I will say this. You mentioned, Trubisky, play to their strengths. Trubisky's mobility does need to be utilized more if he's going to be the starter. He didn't rush the ball nearly as much last season, part of that due to the left shoulder injury, but in 2018, over 400 rushing yards, did have 3 touchdowns on the ground, and over 6 yards per carry. I think the Bears could utilize some of that in his game if they chose to do so. If he's going to start, I do think they need to get him on the edge, out of the pocket a little bit more. Just pick a quarterback, though, Ron. I don't care who it is. I got no dog in the fight. I just want the guy who gives you the best chance to win. I don't know who that is. I know Foles has had playoff success, but neither has had a lot of regular season success. Trubisky was pretty good in 2018, but a lot of those winning, or a lot of that 12-4 was due to the Bears having the best defense in the NFL. So, look, if you ask me, just pick one of these guys and let's get this season started. Now, who do you guys think gives the Bears the best chance to win more games? Type MT for Mitchell Trubisky. Type NF for Nick Foles. I'll make this the pinned comment, top area of the comment section. You guys can reply right there, MT or NF. Next up on our Bears mailbag is Mo Bucks. Mo Bucks, Mo Problems is the saying that I took away from this. Bad joke on my part. Please go sign Antonio Brown and Earl Thomas. Well, you want to sign all the troublemakers, don't you, Mo? Here's the problem. Let's start with AB, and then we'll get to Earl Thomas. This guy's going to be suspended for 8 games. That's number one. Number two, do you really want this guy in your locker room? Yeah, he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory before, he lost his mind, potentially literally, by the way. And he's been on 3 teams in the last 18 months now. I just do not want to deal with Antonio Brown. If I want to take a troubled receiver, I'd much rather wait and see what happens with Josh Gordon and give him a chance, because I don't think he's a locker room cancer. I just think the guy likes to smoke pot, and I can deal with that. I can't deal with Antonio Brown causing issues every single day within my football team. Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, I can get by with what I have without bringing in Antonio Brown. Now, as far as Earl Thomas goes, isn't he kind of becoming AB? He's entering that territory, and it's a shame for both of these guys because these are Hall of Fame talents. Earl Thomas may actually get to the Hall of Fame. I don't think AB will, but ET has a chance to get there, especially if he plays a couple more years. But I don't want to deal with this crap that we've seen for the past 2.5 years. Back in Seattle, had that big game, and I showed you guys this the other day when I broke down Earl Thomas to Chicago, if it could happen. He's just causing issues. He's flipping off Pete Carroll. He's having orgies with his brother and random girls. It's just a weird situation. Oh, and by the way, he punched a teammate, and the Ravens were like, see you later, because we don't want to deal with you anymore, even though we gave you $50 million and we're in the middle of a Super Bowl window. Baltimore doesn't have use for him. Again, with most of these guys, sure, bring them in, see what they got, but I don't like these guys who come in with ego and cause issues in the locker room, and it's just a problem. Tayshaun Gibson, Eddie Jackson, that's more than good enough. Maybe Deion Bush is your starting strong safety in the end, but that's just a big problem, Mo Bucks. I get it. name recognition, they're great players, but there's a reason they remain unsigned. So pick a troublemaker for me. AB for Antonio Brown, ET for Earl Thomas. Which guy with baggage would you much rather bring on board? I guess Earl Thomas, because he doesn't have an 8-game suspension coming, but that's really the only reason. Like, you don't really need another safety. By the way, a free safety next to Eddie Jackson. You really need a strong safety if you're going to go in that direction. Before we get to our next question here, Bears face coverings at chatsports.com/Bears masks. Look, we want to get back into stadiums as soon as possible. Things to normalize. Best chance, best way to do your part is to wear a face mask. And these USA-themed ones, by the way, they're $5 off. This 3-pack is just $19.99 right now. So take advantage of this deal at chatsports.com/Bears masks. Tons of different variety available. Click that link. It'll be in the comments and in the description. Next question here from JC. Anyone know what's happening with Robinson yet? Using #Bears. I'm just going to assume you're talking about a possibility of a contract extension. It kind of feels like the Bears aren't making him a priority. I hope that's not true. But there's been no reported momentum toward a contract extension, which is disappointing because he's entering a contract year. The guy consistently puts up numbers like he did last year of almost 100 catches and over 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns with just bad quarterback play, right? Like, Blake Bortles in Jacksonville put up big numbers. Mitchell Trubisky now in Chicago in a running-based offense and a team that likes to play smash-mouth defense, still catching 100 balls almost. Like, get this guy signed. Like, you don't just find number 1 receivers. You can find a lot of number 2s. You can find a lot of number 3s. But he is a number 1 guy, and to me, he's probably the most underrated receiver in the National Football League because he's stuck on these bad offenses consistently. This is what the going rate is for number 1 guys right now. I don't think he'll get Julio money because he's not Julio, and I think Allen Robinson is aware of that, but he's in Odell Beckham territory, and he doesn't come with the baggage of an Odell Beckham. So this is a guy that if you want to keep him $18, $19 million per year, that's probably what you're going to be looking at, and I think he is absolutely worth it because, like I said, number 1 wide receivers are not easy to come by, and Allen Robinson is one of those guys. So should the Bears extend Allen Robinson, a.k.a. get a deal done before this season is over? I think the answer is yes, so I'm typing my Y. If for some reason you're like, he's not that good or he's going to cost too much, type your N for no. But just know Anthony Miller's not becoming a number 1 guy. You're going to have to find someone else. So Y for yes or N for no. And real quick, why don't you subscribe to the channel? Why not? What do you have to lose? Hit that subscribe button. We got videos going up almost every single day. The latest Bears rumors, news, mailbags like this, and much more, so hit that subscribe button. Last question here from Brandon T. using #Bears. Appreciate it, Brandon. Trade for Patrick Peterson. Not sure if Johnson's ready to be a starter. Now, Patrick Peterson has been one of the NFL's elite for a long time. Remember, he always stays healthy, too. 10 games last year, that's because he had the 6-game suspension. I don't know if he's ever missed any other games in his career, actually. He's always playing 16 games. Really good player, finds the football, has really good on special teams as well if you want to utilize him in that way. And obviously, the Bears lost Artie Burns recently for the season, so that CB2 job is kind of down to Jaylon Johnson and Kevin Toliver and Steven Denmark potentially. All unproven, right? Jaylon Johnson was drafted to be this team's number 2 corner, but the offseason got wiped out. Rookies didn't, it takes time, especially, in the secondary, in my opinion. Cornerback is not an easy position to translate to from college to the NFL. It's going to take time. So if he starts, he's probably going to have some learning curve and some rookie moments. So I'll ask you this question. Should or do the Bears need to add a CB? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I would like to see it. I don't think they're going to pull a trigger on a Patrick Peterson trade per se, but I would like to bring a veteran in there. I think there are a couple of guys out there that could still be some options. Now, Jaylon Johnson, I firmly believe this kid will turn into a solid cornerback in the NFL. I don't know if he'll ever be a number 1 guy, but I think by 2021, you're comfortable with him as a starter, and hopefully this year, right? Like, hopefully he's ready to go at some point this year, and he is, a quality starter on this defense. Luckily, this Bears defense is loaded all over the field. Like, he doesn't have to come in and be awesome. He just has to be serviceable. Patrick Peterson will be awesome on this defense, right? I just don't think it's very likely. So expect Jaylon Johnson or Kevin Toliver to start this season.